Injuries in Major League Baseball spring training are officially a major problem right now. A couple of the biggest starters in the entire game right now, both are down due to injury concerns, with more threatening to go down as well. Hopefully we don't see anybody miss significant time, but the injury bug has gone from, hey, he's got an oblique strain, maybe he'll be out for 3-4 weeks, okay, he'll be fine, to now we have long-term questions about the viability of starting rotations across the game. Most specifically with the New York Yankees, Garrett Cole going to get some testing on an elbow injury that he has right now. George Kirby going down due to a shoulder issue. Grayson Rodriguez for the Baltimore Orioles also headed to the injured list. And Kittredge is down for a few months with a knee issue. Multiple injuries across Major League Baseball on the pitching front have gone from okay, hopefully they get better relatively soon, to now they might be missing the full season. That and much more ahead next here at The Upside. And welcome into the MLB Hot Stove Daily here at the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys joining us on a Friday evening. Hopefully you guys had a great day out there. And the NHL trade deadline was absolutely great. And hopefully you guys got to enjoy a little bit of that today. But again, we'll start ringing the alarm bells because, again, injuries are becoming not a, hey, maybe it's just a spring training injury, he'll miss a few weeks type of thing. So now we really have to worry about the long-term viability of Major League rotations, their bullpens, and so forth. So big issues across Major League Baseball. We'll start with the Garrett Cole one. Had to leave a game anyway due to an elbow injury. He says he's going in for extra testing. Now, anytime you hear a starting pitcher go to, it looks like he's going to be headed towards the injured list in some way, shape, or form to get additional testing done. It could be anything from, hey, maybe he just needs a couple of weeks and he'll be fine, to, hey, he might need significant surgery. Not a good thing here for the New York Yankees, who already are going to be without Luis Gil for about a month. They're already going to put Marcus Stroman in their rotation. They're already missing Giancarlo Stanton at the moment. Hopefully that they get these guys back sooner rather than later. Wishing nothing but positive health for all these major leaguers out there. But spring training is officially starting to take a big chunk out of a lot of teams out there. George Kirby is going to start the season on the injured list for the Seattle Mariners. And if you joined our show last night, we ranked the Mariners right at the tippy top of the best Major League rotations in the game. We'll show you where they ultimately ranked last night. Their lineup isn't exactly giving them any or any type of a reason for to believe that it could carry this team if they end up having significant time missed in that rotation from George Kirby or others. So this rotation is going to have to carry this team. Didn't do enough last year, and they were probably one of the best rotations they've ever had in their entire franchise history, and they still couldn't carry them to the postseason. What does that say about this organization who didn't do much this offseason to address the needs on the offensive side of things, that now one of their top starters is going to miss some time to begin the year? Hopefully, again, they get back sooner rather than later. And then the Baltimore Orioles. They addressed their bullpen by bringing in Kittredge this offseason. He has a knee issue. He'll be out months, not weeks. We're talking months until he's back. So that basically takes all the pressure, puts all that pressure back on Bautista to be the answer at the back end of that bullpen. There is still Robertson out there on the free agent market. Maybe they decide to dip their toe in that market as well to solve their issue in the bullpen. They still are looking for a number one starter, and they still haven't found one, but injuries are becoming a major problem. On the starting pitching side, Grayson Rodriguez, again, one of that group of starting pitchers who normally would be a 2 through 4, is probably going to be a number 2 in that rotation, at least to start the year. He is also going to start the year on the injured list with another elbow injury. Again, no idea as far as a timetable, as far as when he will return. But again, big issues as far as injuries in spring training. Welcome in, Holly. Welcome in, Mark. Appreciate you guys joining us this evening. Sorry to start out on such a somber tone here, but I don't want to be sounding like too much of an alarmist, but when you're talking about two of the best rotations in the game in Seattle and in New York, some alarm bells need to be raised. And now we're going from, hey, it's cute that you had some of these, getting back into the swing of things type of injuries. Maybe they'll be fine in a couple of days. Just normally they'd play through it if it was a regular season. But since it's spring training, we'll let it heal up. No need to push it in spring training to, now we're looking at an injury that's going to cost months at minimum, and then we really have some real issues on our hands. These are the type of injuries that could derail entire seasons, and hopefully, like I said, these are not too significant. Hopefully the tests come back positive there for Garrett Kroll, wishing the best for him. I know I'm a Rangers fan, but I still want to see great baseball being played. I don't want to win because some other team didn't have their ace to pitch that day. I don't want to win as a Ranger fan because, hey, this team didn't have all their players available because of injury. I don't want to win that way. I've never wanted to win that way. I hope every player is healthy and performing at their best abilities. And yes, I'm still going to pull for my Rangers whenever they play against them. But I'm not going to be sitting there like, oh, fingers crossed there's an injury. I don't want to see that ever. And I just hope these guys are, hopefully, don't miss much time, that they come back, that these are short-term injuries, and that they're just going to be, overly cautious since it is spring training. But the first time this entire spring training that we've had to raise alarm bells as far as injuries in spring training. But something to kind of keep an eye on is how these guys really recover from those injuries and how long they ultimately will miss. One other bit of news on the transaction side, the Astros have added to their minor league depth in the bullpen by adding Jalen Beeks, former reliever from the Colorado Rockies and others. And for them, gives them a nice depth option there after Presley was traded during the offseason to the Chicago Cubs. He could be in that mix for 7th, 8th inning role later in the season, but I think to start camping or to come in this late into spring training, I doubt he breaks camp with the Astros. Maybe he could be a factor later on as injuries pile up and so forth as the year goes along, but a good depth signing nonetheless for the Astros. All right, in tonight's show, we're going to get into the 2025 opening day rankings for where bullpens rank across Major League Baseball. We'll check in on where the Astros would rank after trading away Presley. We'll also revisit the rankings we made the last two nights for the lineups and for the rotation in light of the significant injuries that we've seen already. Now, we'll probably do another ranking show right at opening day. We're not going to do the opening day anyway for, overseas anyway. We're going to do the regular opening day, and we'll probably do a prediction show the night before. That way we can kind of have everything laid out for us. That way you guys can kind of see how I see things will go throughout the year, and then we'll see how close I am. Am I accurate or am I off on a few things? Always fun to do those kinds of shows. So I know you guys really respond to ranking shows, prediction shows, so we'll probably do a few more of those before we get to the start of the season. So let's go ahead and get into the 2025 rankings for the best MLB bullpen to begin the year. All right, to show you where we finished last night anyway, this was the best lineups and best rotation in Major League Baseball entering the 2025 season. Dodgers at the top in both. Mariners now with George Kirby going down. Since he's not going to be available to start the year, when we do our re-rank anyway as we get closer to opening day, the Mariners will drop a little bit here. Diamondbacks, Phillies, and Yankees I thought were all pretty much in that same class as far as the best rotations. That injury to Kirby might knock them down to the range of the Tigers, Twins, Rangers because of the injury here to Garrett Cole, especially if it's a significant injury. Hoping for the best, fingers crossed, for Yankees anyway. For the Mariners, same thing with George Kirby. He and Gilbert at the top of that rotation are the reasons why I have them so high. Yes, they have a very good 1 through 5, but I have a lot of faith in both of those starters, Kirby and in Gilbert, to really carry that rotation. Even if they did decide to trade away Luis Castillo, I thought they had enough talent at the top with those two pieces to really carry that rotation. And if Kirby's going to miss some time, the question is how much time will he miss, and how much will it affect the team overall? Now, if he misses only a couple of starts to begin the year, that's probably the best case scenario if you're a Mariners fan. Worst case scenario is this is a lingering issue that gives him trouble throughout the year. Garrett Cole, on the other hand, say this is they take him in for testing, it turns out to be negative. They're just handle him with kid gloves for a week or two, maybe start him on the injured list, and he only misses a start. That would be best case scenario in my mind for Garrett Cole. But for the Yankees, this could be a significant injury, and if he misses more than, say, 3-4 starts, when you already have Heel out of the rotation right now, this is a rotation that really could start behind the 8 ball here in a very competitive American League East, that even with Heel and Stanton already being down, I already was questioning whether or not my prediction that the Yankees would win the division would hold up. And with Garrett Cole going down due to injury, that's in serious jeopardy right now. So we'll see how this thing ultimately shakes out. Welcome in, Verlis. Appreciate you joining us. But let's begin with our ranking of the best bullpens in 2025. Go ahead and start down here anyway. Good. It doesn't change our formatting from yesterday. Perfect. All right, we'll start as we do with the A's and just see what their bullpen really has to offer. Of course, you have one of the best relievers in the game, Mason Miller. They did add to the bullpen Jose Leclerc. I love him as a setup guy. He does leave a little bit to be desired as far as command, but he's a very good option there. Kind of replaces Ursig in that bullpen for me. But the rest of the bullpen is a little bit up and down. I mean, Ferguson, Otanez, McFarland, Holman, Murdoch, and Lopez. I'm not expecting pretty much anything out of that part of the bullpen. I think it's kind of ho-hum at best. But Mason Miller really elevates this bullpen more than anything else. But let's go ahead and get him on our sheet first, and then we'll kind of keep going as we go through this. So Athletics, for the time being, are both top and bottom. All right, next team, Baltimore Orioles. Now remember, Kittredge is down, so he is not going to start the season in this bullpen. And they have taken him out of here. So there's the injury updates there. So their bullpen, Felix Bautista, Dominguez, Aiken, Cano, Soto, Perez, Baker, and Suarez. Bautista coming back from injury is a good thing for the Orioles, but how good is he going to be coming back remains to be seen. He still should be pretty good. Dominguez should be a solid one for them. Cano should be pretty solid. Soto has some experience back there. I'd say this is definitely a better bullpen than the A's. I think that's unquestionable. So we'll go ahead and put them above the A's. Next bullpen, Boston. Now, they added a few arms to that bullpen and could still add more, but right now, entering the 2025 season, Liam Hendricks, Aroldis Chapman in the late inning role, Whitlock, Slayton, Weissert, Wilson, Bernardino, and Winchowski. I do like Aroldis and I do like Hendricks, but both of those guys are on the back nine of their careers, probably on hole 18, honestly, for both of those guys. Whitlock's a pretty good one for them. Don't really have a whole lot of faith in the rest of the arms that they have there. But I will say it's a pretty solid one. I don't think it's quite to the level of the Orioles, even without Kittredge being in there. So I'll go ahead and say the Red Sox are after the Orioles, at least for right now. Let's keep this thing going for the White Sox. Who do they have in their bullpen this year? Justin Anderson, Ellert, Varland, Boozer, Leisure, Gilbert, Murphy, and Smith. Pretty much nobody that's going to be inspiring a lot of promise here. Everybody over a 4 ERA according to Fangraphs. I think this is pretty easily the worst bullpen so far. Let's go ahead and pencil them in. White Sox finished last in both the lineup and in their rotation. I think there's a good chance they finish last in the bullpen as well. Guardians. What do they have to work with? All right, Emmanuel Clase, one of the best closers in the game, if not the best closer, showed it last year. Cade Smith, one of the best setup guys in the game, expecting a 1.5 WAR out of a setup guy is really, really high. Tells you how valuable he is. Jacob Junis in the bullpen, at least to start the year. I think that is probably one of the better long relievers you could have right now. I really like him. Seawald, a good fallback option as well. Heron, Gaddis, Walters, and Nikhazy. But I'd say the best part of this bullpen is definitely Clase and Smith. I think that's a pretty solid bunch, and then a good long reliever is an invaluable piece into any bullpen. So where should we rank the Guardians? I'd say certainly better than the A's. I'd say better than the Red Sox for sure. Orioles, I'd say better than the Orioles as well. So let's go ahead and bump them down. And now the Guardians have taken over the top spot so far on our list of the best bullpens entering 2025. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Let us know who you guys think should be the top bullpen entering the year. Remember, we're not counting anybody who might be coming up later in the season. We're not talking about other arms who may end up in the bullpen or any trades they may make. We're talking strictly about how the bullpen will be shaped entering the 2025 season. Detroit, where do they rank with their bullpen? Foley, Brisky, Holtz, Canley, Vest, Chafin, Brebbia, and Herder. I think if they added Presley, this would be a significantly better bullpen than what I'm seeing right now. But they didn't, and I think they will add one. But entering the season, I can't give them credit for something they haven't done. So, I'm definitely putting them after the Red Sox. I'm debating with the Athletics, but I think with Miller, I think they have to be beneath the Athletics. They're definitely better than the White Sox, though. They at least have a couple of guys that I think could get a few outs for them. Good veterans in there, so I'll go ahead and put the Tigers after the A's. Astros, where do they rank entering the 2025 season without Presley? Hader, of course, is your closer. Abreu, definitely a setup guy. Taylor Scott, Brian King, Caleb Orts, Rafael Montero, possibly getting back up to the big league level again with the Houston Astros. Whitley and Hernandez there. Primarily driven by Hader and Abreu. I do like Whitley in the bullpen. Montero has his ups and downs. One year he's great. Another year he's one of the worst in baseball. Is this another good year for him, or is this another worst in baseball year is the question. But based off of Hader and Abreu primarily is where we'll rank this bullpen. So looking at what we've got so far, I'd say certainly better than the Tigers. I'd say better than the A's. They have more options. I'd say better than the Red Sox. They have more proven options back there. Orioles gets a little tougher, but I think with the injury to Kittredge, I think that that kind of hinders the Orioles just a little bit. I can't put them above the Guardians, though. I just really like that 1-2 punch of Clase and Smith there. So I'll go ahead and put the Astros after the Guardians. Royals, where do they rank entering 2025? Now, they did add three different bullpen pieces over the last, we'll call it 6 months or so, bringing in Estevez, Ursig, and Harvey. Estevez taking over as their closer. Ursig is going to be more of their setup guy this year. And Harvey has some closing experience, but should still be a good option back there for them. Really good options, though, back there. Rounded out by Schreiber, Zerpa, Stratton, who did win a World Series with the Rangers a couple of years ago, Sam Long, and Carlos Hernandez. I worry a little bit about the middle relief, long relief there, but I will say that bullpen, the back end, looks pretty solid. So where should we rank them? Certainly better than the White Sox, better than the Tigers. I'd say they have more options to go to than the A's, but it's close. I'll put them a little bit above the A's. Do I put them above the Red Sox? I don't think so. I like the depth of the Red Sox a hair better than I do the depth of the Royals. I like the top-end talent of the Royals a little bit better, though. Dang, it's close, though. They're right in this mix. I'm going to go ahead and say, for right now, based on what I think Aroldis Chapman and Hendricks will do, I have to put them slightly above them. So Royals get just a hair above the Red Sox. All right, Angels. They make the signing of Kenley Jansen, really beefs up their bullpen. Love Ben Joyce back there, future closer for them. Brock Burke on his last chance, really, to latch on with a big league team before he has to go the minor league route in the future. Zephyrin, Quijada, Kraus, Suarez, and McDaniels. But I really like the back end there with Jansen and Joyce. Joyce can learn a lot as far as handling the late innings from Jansen. But it's still not the best bullpen in the game. It's certainly not to the level of the Guardians. I don't think it's to the level of the Astros either. Orioles gets a little closer. I think the Orioles have more options. But I would say that the back end of this bullpen might have better top-end options than the Royals, and I don't like either one's middle relief or long relief options, really. Which one do I like better? Urseg, Harvey, and Estevez, or Jansen and Joyce? I might lean Royals there. I think I will. I'll put the Angels after the Royals. Welcome in, Hank. Appreciate you joining us. No matter what, there's always an Upside Sports Network. Thank you, my friend, for joining us once again. All right, let's keep this thing rolling here. Justin, the Angels, let's see where the Twins rank as far as their bullpen. Really like what they have. They have a lot of good arms here. Duran, Jack, Sands, Stewart, Alcala, Colomb, Tonkin, and Castillo. Long relief is the really only issue to me. I love their back end of their bullpen, and honestly, their middle relief is pretty solid. 4 guys above a half a WAR in a bullpen is really rare, and 2 guys above a 1. Duran almost to a 2. This is a pretty solid and deep bullpen. They do have the rotation that shouldn't require it to be overused. But again, we're just basing it on the bullpen that we have entering the 2025 season. Better than the A's, certainly. Red Sox, yes. Angels, yes. Royals, yes. Orioles gets really close. Astros, close. Guardians, honestly, it's not that far off. Let me see here. 2.5, they're expecting 3 guys with elite strikeout rates. And all of them are experienced. None of them are really rookies here. It's a pretty good veteran bullpen. This might be going up a little bit higher than I thought they would, just based off of what this bullpen has. I would say it's better than the Orioles. Astros, they have some long relief that they can turn to. They have some middle relief, and they have some. They have a really good back end as well. I would like a couple of other good pieces here. For the Twins, they have the back end. They have the middle relief. They're missing the long relief. So I think that's where they fall just a tiny bit short here. So I'll say the Twins above the Orioles for now, entering the 2025 season. All right, who's next? The Yankees. Now again, look at this. Garrett Cole could be one that comes out of this rotation for the year. But looking at the bullpen, again, this is where I would like them to get another, 8th inning setup guy. You got Williams, Weaver, Hamilton, Cruz, Hill, Leiter, Gomez, and Hedrick expected to be in that bullpen. Williams, a 1.5 WAR guy. Weaver, only a 0.6, but I think he's going to play a little bit better than that. But he's kind of their fireman in that bullpen. That's where, again, I would like to have another option to go to in that spot. But it is a good bullpen. Where do I put them? Certainly better than the Angels. Royals, I'd say they're a little better. Yankees or Orioles, I think, becomes the question. I think I like the top-end talent of the Orioles when Bautista gets fully rolling, but we don't know that coming into the year, so I can't give him credit for that. Now, Devin Williams had his bugaboo in the postseason, where he really struggled. But entering the 2025 season, I think you could put either one in either one of these spots. I'm going to put the Yankees just a tick below, just because I would like to have seen them done something else with that middle relief. I think that would have pushed them above the Orioles to me. I still think they would have been below the Twins. But I think that's a pretty close spot for where they should be. Maybe you flip-flop them. Mariners, again, they're going to be led by their pitching staff, and Kirby is now taken out of their projected rotation for the starting of the year. We're going to have to amend that when we do our update video later towards or closer to opening day. But Munoz, Snyder, Santos, Thornton, Saucedo, Martinez, Spire, and Bazardo. They got a couple other relievers coming, but we can't take them into account yet. But with this bullpen, 2 guys with above a 1 WAR, and then the rest kind of ho-hum. Munoz, pretty good closer for them. Only 1 guy with elite strikeout stuff. But they do have pretty good solid production. They do know how to run a bullpen fairly well. So, better than the Tigers, I would say yes. Athletics, again, it's basically the Mason Miller, Jose Leclerc show. And I think it gets real close there. Red Sox, I think they fall right into this group with the Angels, Red Sox, and Athletics. I think they finish just beneath the Royals. I like the top end of the Angels a little better, but I like the overall depth of the Mariners. So I'm going to go with the Mariners above the Angels, but below the Royals for their bullpen. Rays. Where do they rank going into the 25 season? Fairbanks is still there. Edwin Uceta, Clevenger, Rodriguez, Montgomery, Fado, and Vassell. Fairbanks is really the one piece that I really like. Ooh, hold on. Where did my screens go? There we go. All right. Fairbanks is only a 1 WAR, though. 2 guys with elite strikeout stuff. Not much else there, though. A lot of inexperience in 4, 5, 6 of their guys in their bullpen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in the bullpen. Only 2 experienced relievers there. This bullpen isn't as great as they usually have it. I will say that, but they do kind of go by committee and platoon with their players overall. So we always get some big surprises. But entering the season, I can't give them credit for that. So I'd say they're beneath the Mariners. I'd say they're beneath the Angels, beneath the Red Sox. I like the A's bullpen a little better too. The Tigers, it gets a little closer. Fairbanks, does he elevate the bullpen enough over the Tigers? I think so. But not by much. Or does Chafin, Canely, and the rest of the guys there elevate the Tigers bullpen? Let me look at the Tigers one more time before I pick this one. Foley, a .6 WAR. Holton, a .6 WAR. Vest, a .6 WAR. They're not expecting much out of Canely or Chafin. Nobody with elite strikeout stuff at all, though, in this bullpen group. That's a little worrisome for a bullpen. I can't put them below the Tigers. So the Rays with Fairbanks go above the Tigers. All right. Let's keep it rolling. Now for the Texas Rangers. Got a few Texas Rangers fans. Let's see where this bullpen ranks. Now remember, they don't have a true closer. They're going to try Martin first, then I'm sure they'll try Garcia. If he doesn't work, maybe Webb. There's Teodo, Church, a number of other guys that they might ultimately use in that role. All right, so they're expecting Martin, Garcia, Webb, Armstrong, Milner, Jackson, Church, and Dunning. I love their long relief. I love the overall options that they have for middle relief and setup. Closer is a little bit worrisome for me because they don't have a proven option that can do it day in and day out. So I got to knock them a little bit for that. But overall, they have a pretty strong bullpen mix from setup through long relief. Just the closer is the only real missing ingredient to me, and they may solve that issue, but we can't take that into account for future performance. So, where does this bullpen rank? I'd say the overall depth puts them certainly above the Rays. I'd say the depth puts them above the Athletics. Red Sox still lead the Rangers overall. Same with the Angels. Now, the Mariners have the depth, but they at least have a closer that they can turn to. Which depth is better? Garcia, Webb, Armstrong, Milner. Long relief was their worry there with Seattle, if I remember correctly. And I do like Dane Dunning a whole lot better there. Munoz is a good closer, but he's not elite. I'm leaning a hair Rangers, but just by a fraction. Royals, they definitely have the back end solved. Don't have as many options to turn to in those middle relief innings. I think the Rangers fall right into this mix of the Royals and Mariners here. Again, I can't count the guys that aren't there. I can't count facts not in evidence. So, I think I'm going to put them right in between the two. I think. I am leaning above the Mariners. The Royals, do I put them above or below? Well, let's jump up one. Are they better than the Yankees bullpen? Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, and a pretty solid group overall. Long relief is the only real question mark. I would lean the Yankees bullpen over the Rangers. So do I put the Rangers above the Royals or below the Royals? For now, until they solve their closer issue, I got to put them underneath. All right. Last team on the American League side, the Blue Jays. They enter the year with Hoffman, Green, Garcia, Sandlin, Little, Pop, Nance, and Rodriguez. Love their long relief. Love their back end here with Hoffman, Green, Garcia. Middle relief with Pop. This is actually a pretty solid bullpen, but they're only expecting good years out of three guys: Garcia, Hoffman, and Rodriguez. Only elite relief or only elite strikeout stuff from Hoffman. Garcia's good. Sandlin's a good player, at least for strikeout rates. And Yorel Rodriguez will probably be spot starting every now and again as well. Romano is no longer here. Where do we put this Blue Jays bullpen? Better than the A's? I would say so. They have more options to go to. Red Sox, I'd say they're close. Angels, I'd say they're a little better. Mariners, I like the depth of Seattle a little bit better. But I like the answers Toronto has in their bullpen in all three phases. They're all four phases: closer, setup, middle relief, and long relief. They have an option in all four categories. Mariners don't really have that. I like the depth definitely better in Texas. Somewhere between the Angels and Mariners. I do like Munoz. I do like the depth overall in both spots. But I think they have more answers in Toronto than Seattle does. So I'm going to go with the Blue Jays above them. All right, so there's your American League bullpen rankings. Guardians on top, Astros, Twins, Orioles, Yankees in the top 5. Your 6 through 10, Royals, Rangers, Blue Jays, Mariners, and Angels. And then your bottom 5, Red Sox, A's, Rays, Tigers, and White Sox overall in the bullpen. Not too bad. Let's keep it going to the National League side. Where do the Diamondbacks rank with their bullpen? Puck, Martinez, Ginkel, Thompson, Mantiply, Miller, Jameson, and Montgomery. And remember, they did sign, what was it? Was it Graveman that they signed? But he's got back tightness right now. Coming back from injury, can't count on him yet. But they do have some pretty solid options, but they don't have necessarily as many as they used to have. I do like Puck as a reliever, though, for them. Ginkel has his ups and downs. Montgomery had a down year last year. Does he adjust to a bullpen role for this? Mantiply has been an all-star before. Martinez is going to have great strikeout stuff, but walks are going to be a problem for him. But they do have 3 guys with above a .5 WAR. It's a solid group. It's not elite, but it's solid. Let's see. Do I put them above the Blue Jays? I think that's where we'll start this conversation. I would lean a hair yes, by a hair. Rangers, I would say above them just by a hair. They have a couple options that they can go to, but they have the same problem the Rangers do, as they don't have a proven guy there yet. Royals, I think they have more answers in this Diamondbacks bullpen than the Royals do. Yankees, I think the Yankees probably have a little bit better bullpen. With Devin Williams, they have higher highs there with Luke Weaver's abilities. But I'm leaning somewhere in between this Rangers and Yankees group here. Thompson in a middle relief role. They're not expecting too much out of him. Just trying to figure out where I should put them. Let's see here. Diamondbacks. Above the Royals or below? I think below. Above the Rangers or below the Rangers? Montgomery, Dunning, I'd prefer Dunning out of a bullpen role. If it was Montgomery in a starting rotation, I'd prefer Montgomery. But in a bullpen long relief role, I would prefer Dunning. I'd say the Rangers have more middle relief and setup options. I think the Diamondbacks have a couple of higher end closer options, but neither team has a proven guy. I just think the depth is just slightly better on the Rangers side, honestly. The Royals, I do like Ursig, Estevez, and Harvey. They don't have the depth that the Diamondbacks do, but they have a better back end, in my opinion. A more proven back end, I should say. I think I put them above the Blue Jays for sure, though. I'm going to put the Diamondbacks after the Rangers. Welcome in, Rafe. Appreciate you joining us. So you didn't even see you went live? Yes, we did share it out there on all of our platforms. But appreciate you joining us. Doing pretty well. Enjoyed the NHL trade deadline. Spending the day with the lady and taking Grandma out to breakfast today. So full day for me. Hence the reason we started a little bit late. But we're back tonight. We'll be doing another live tomorrow. We'll do another ranking show. We'll get into that one here towards the end of the video to kind of preview that one. But let's keep this thing going. Let's do the Braves on the National League side. Their bullpen features Iglesias, Johnson, Bummer, Lee, Neris, Hernandez, Perdomo, and Farmer. Let's see, 3 guys above a .5, nobody above a 1.5, or 4 guys above a .5. Johnson has his ups and downs, but 4, 5, 6 guys with above 10 strikeouts per 9, that's elite strikeout stuff for a bullpen. Control issues from a couple of other guys there in Perdomo and Hernandez. Only 2 guys projected to be above a 4 ERA. It's a solid group. You got a burner question for you? Go ahead and send it, my friend. What was your favorite pitcher versus battle rivalry you ever watched? Puig versus Mad Bum? I'm thinking back to like the late '90s, Pedro Martinez versus pretty much anybody on the Yankees. Um, Maybe Pedro versus A-Rod. That was pretty cool. Um, Trying to think who else. If I was looking at the Rangers history, since I'm a Rangers fan, I would lean. There was a couple of teams Kenny Rogers just got under the skin of back when I was a kid, and he just rubbed pretty much a few teams just the wrong way. But he had that same mentality on the mound that Nolan Ryan had to me. They both were cut from the same cloth. But if I had to say the best rivalry, would probably be Pedro versus the Yankees, Pedro versus A-Rod, Pedro versus anybody on the Yankees, really. The Rocket versus Piazza, yes, I'd say that one as well. Let's see, who else comes to mind? Oh, what was the? It was Amir Garrett for the Reds. Who was the Pirates guys he kept plunking? What is it? Aramis Ramirez back in the day. Those always had some juice going in them. Bryce Harper versus who was it when he was with the Nationals? He charged the mound on a couple of different times. Maybe it was Amir Garrett that I'm thinking of. Anyway, I would still probably lean Pedro versus A-Rod, one of the biggest ones to me. Ventura versus Ryan, but I wasn't alive at the. Well, I'll put it this way: I don't have a living memory of that. Hank, Otani versus Trout versus, or was epic. We've only seen it a few times, and hopefully we'll see it a few more times this year, and hopefully both guys are healthy enough for us to be able to see that. That'll be awesome. Just seeing best on best is more of the reason there. But rivalry would be like, your point there about Trout staying there with the Angels versus Otani spurning that team and deciding to go to the crosstown Los Angeles Dodgers. All right, let's see where this team would rank with the Braves. I think they're pretty high up on the list. I'd say they're definitely better than the Diamondbacks, Rangers, Royals. Yankees, I think they have more options to go to. Orioles, I think they're probably a little bit better again, more options. Twins gets close. I would lean probably towards the Braves because they have all those roles covered, and the higher end strikeout stuff really does play up out of a bullpen. So I'll go ahead and say the Braves enter for me at the top here. Probably number 3 so far. Now, based on performance and run expectancy, I don't think they'd normally rank this high in a team-by-team analysis as far as rankings of the best bullpens. But they got a lot of guys with some really good stuff, and I think that's a bullpen that might surprise a lot of you guys out there. But they don't necessarily have that elite closer, but Iglesias is still good enough to get the job done. Pierce Johnson is a solid setup guy, but the rest of that bullpen, I think, with that strikeout stuff, really does play up the rest of that depth a little bit more. And so that's why I rank them so highly here. Welcome in, D-Rod. Good evening, pal. If Max Fried pitches to Ben Rice, would make fried rice. Yeah. Well, if you watched our show off the top, some significant injury news. We'll kind of go over those here in just a little bit. Rafe, I want to see more hatred, rivalries. That what makes games more fun. Of course, I can only remember the last 12-ish years of baseball. So Puig Mad Bum was your favorite. Got me hyped every time Puig walked up. It was a good one, I will say that. But I'm still going to go Pedro versus A-Rod. Just watch the videos of Pedro throwing down, what was it, Don Zimmer when the benches cleared after he plunked him. It's pretty cool back in the day. Those were the classic, Yankees Red Sox rivalries that Sunday Night Baseball was made for, to be able to get that type of hostility, in prime time. And nowadays that matchup has really kind of dwindled. Hopefully it'll be much better this year with the Red Sox entering this as well. Losing Minter may hurt the Braves bullpen. I would agree. I still think they're a pretty solid group. I think he'd be a better setup guy for them than, say, a Pierce Johnson. And if they still had Minter, who, by the way, is one of the top, I believe, top 20 bullpen guys over the last 5 years, they're going to feel his absence a little bit, but they have a lot of options there in that bullpen that they can turn to, and almost all of them are veterans, not really any young guys, so they know how to get the job done. I just think the Braves are a lot more solid there than others might actually think they are. All right, let's keep this thing rolling here. For the Cubs, where do they rank? Now, they did get Presley, so that solves a lot of their issues. Hodge, Brazier, again, really nice get for them. Pearson in kind of a middle relief, long relief role. Fieldbar was a nice get for them. Merriweather and Thompson. They still have Miller. Nobody above a 1 WAR. That's kind of surprising. I think Presley's better than what Fangraphs thinks, apparently. Only a couple of guys with elite strikeout stuff. A couple of guys in the 9s. It's kind of a middle-of-the-road bullpen for me. They do have a couple of good options there. But let's kind of start in the middle here. Would I say they're better than the Mariners? I would lean yes, because I like Presley a little bit more than Munoz, and they have the depth. Blue Jays, I do like Presley more than Hoffman, and I like the depth about equal. Diamondbacks gets really close. I do like Presley better than what the Rangers have at closer, but I do like the depth a lot more with Texas. So somewhere between the Blue Jays and Diamondbacks. Are they better or worse than the Diamondbacks? I would lean a shade worse. So I'll go ahead and put them right behind them here. So this is the Cubs behind the Diamondbacks. Let's look at the Reds. Where do they rank with their bullpen? Diaz, Rogers, Pagan, Mole, Santillan, Suter, Barlow, and Ashcraft. This is a really solid bullpen. Nobody above a .5 besides Diaz. That's a little surprising. But again, look at all the 4 ERAs there. 3 guys with very good strikeout stuff. It's a good bullpen, a veteran bullpen, but they do give up some runs, and they are overtaxed as a group overall, in general. We'll start with the Red Sox. Are they better than what the Red Sox have? I would say yes by a little. Angels, I would say yes by a little. Mariners, yes by a little. Blue Jays. Honestly, I lean the Blue Jays here a little bit. I think that's where the train kind of runs. So we put the Reds there after the Blue Jays. Rafe, I barely remember watching Pedro because his last year in the league, I think, was 05 to 07, somewhere in there. He had lost a step, tip his cap. Yeah, not sure what you're saying there. I think you're saying he had lost a step and you tipped his cap or something. Anyway, but to me, Pedro was one of the most fiery presences on the mound besides Nolan Ryan, besides Randy Johnson. He was cut from that same competitive cloth. Kind of like John Rocker, as far as the mentality on the mound, just, in your face, I'm coming after you. Younger Craig Kimbrell was up there as well, but not necessarily a rivalry that I would see. But as far as just guys that have that intensity, but Pedro did have those rivalries with a lot of different players out there. All right, let's keep this thing going. Colorado Rockies, where do their bullpen rank? Kinley, Halvorsen, Peralta, Vodnik, Alexander, Bird, Herget, and Gordon. Couple of guys there I think could be nice veteran trade candidates at some point, but nobody I'm writing home about. Nobody with elite strikeout stuff, and it is Colorado. Let's go ahead and just go right to the bottom of this bullpen. I think the White Sox are probably just a shade worse. Tigers, I think, are a shade better. So the Rockies finished second to last here. He had to tip his cap and call the Yankees his daddies. Yeah, true. The player Pedro just liked the most was Posada. It was very mutual. All right. Let's see here. Dodgers. This is probably one of the best bullpens in the game. Scott, Yates, Trinan, Vesia, Banda, Kasperius, Robleski, and May. And remember, they're getting a ton of guys back as well later on, but we can't count them right now. But look at that. That's what, 3 closers already, and they got a couple more coming. That's a very good bullpen. They do have long relief there. Their setup is elite. And I'd say their middle relief is pretty solid. This is probably going to be right at the tippy top of the list here. We'll go ahead and not mess around with the White Sox rankings or anything like that. Let's go all the way to the top here. Are they better than the Yankees? Definitely. Orioles? Goodness, yes. Twins? Yeah. Braves? Definitely. Astros gets closer, but definitely. And Guardians. Remember, they have Clase, Smith, and a couple other guys, some long relief that's pretty good. Clase is the best of all those closer options. Smith, one of the best setup guys, but with Yates, Trinan there, I think that negates Smith's advantage. And I think we put the Dodgers at the top of the heap in the bullpen. So far, the Dodgers, the top bullpen, lineup, and rotation entering the 2025 season. They might sweep all 3 categories here. In my opinion, the 2003 ALCS was the unofficial World Series that year. I would agree. Both teams were 1 game apart in the record after 26 games all season. Marlins would have beat either team. Or are you saying either team would have beat them? If you're saying that was the ALC or was the World Series. That Marlins team was pretty special though. Dontrell Willis and company, Josh Beckett. All right, where does this Marlins bullpen rank? Fulcher, Tanaka, Bender, Cronin, Veneziano, Bachar, Henriquez, and Gillespie. A couple of guys on the injured list to start the year. Nardi is going on the injured list, it sounds like, or at least could miss some time here in spring training with back tightness. They're expecting him to not start the season anyway in that bullpen. Where does this bullpen rank? It ain't at the top like the Dodgers. We'll start at the bottom. They're definitely better than the Tigers, in my opinion. Fairbanks for the Rays. Miller and Leclerc for the A's. I think they're in this same category here. I think they're better than the Rays, just have a little bit better depth. But I don't think they're better than the A's. I think the A's, the better options in the 8th, 9th inning with Leclerc and Miller make them a little bit better. So Marlins are above the Rays. You weren't even born yet? Well, I appreciate you joining us anyway, Rafe. 2003 was the Marlins year between Bartman and the Sox. Yankees beating each other up. Marlins were a good team, but luck was on their side. True, it was. The Bartman ball, shoot. I still remember the instant reaction. I was watching that game live. That was a great game, though. All right, Milwaukee. Megill taking over as the closer there, a 1 WAR. Couple of guys hovering around a .5. Koenig, Piamps, Hudson, Mears, Peguero, Alexander, and Thomas. Back end solid. Middle relief is decent. Long relief could be good. And a couple of strikeout artists. It's a solid bullpen. Nothing to write home about, but it's solid. Better than the bottom 5? Probably. Would I put them above the Angels? Probably. But it's close. Let's go a little lower. Would I put them above the A's? Definitely Miller is a little bit better, but I do like the depth there in Milwaukee a little bit better. Red Sox, I think they have some good depth options, but the back end has something to prove with Chapman and Hendricks. Joyce and Jansen, I think, lock down the Angels' back end a little bit better. I think I'm going to put the Brewers right around this category here. This has a lot of similarities to the Mariners' bullpen. I think I'm going to put them just a hair above the Angels because there's not much depth there in Los Angeles. Mariners have the depth, but they don't have quite the top end, and that's kind of what the Brewers are here. But I think the Brewers are a worse version of it. All right. Mets, where does their bullpen rank? They spent a lot of money back there. Edwin Diaz, your closer. Buto, Garrett, Stanek, Young, Razoban, Cabrera, and Megill. fairly veteran group here. 3 strikeout artists, 2 guys above a 1 or a 0.5, or 3 guys above a .5 WAR. And Minter has hip surgery and is going to miss at least the start of the year. If Minter was in this lineup or was in this bullpen to start the year, I'd probably put them a lot higher. But again, we're only basing it off how bullpens will begin the year, starting opening day. So I can't put them up to the level of, say, like the Orioles yet. But I think they're in that category once they get Minter back. So with that being said, since they have Diaz and they have a really solid group overall, they could be better in a couple of spots, sure. But I think they're better than the Mariners. I think that's pretty easy. Reds, I think so as well. Jays, closer, but I lean towards the Mets. Cubs, I lean Mets. Diamondbacks, close, but I lean Mets. Rangers, it's close, but I think I lean Mets. Royals, if Minter was healthy, I'd probably put them above the Royals. But I think I'm just going to put them above the Rangers for their bullpen. All right, let's keep this train going here. Phillies, how does their bullpen stack up? Romano takes over as closer. Stram, Kerkering, Alvarado, Ruiz, Banks, Ross, and Taijuan Walker. 6 guys above a .5 WAR. 5 guys above a .5 WAR, excuse me. 2 guys above a 1. 3 strikeout artists. That's a solid bullpen overall. Taijuan Walker, the only question mark as far as long relief, but you have Joe Ross as well, who could give you some long relief as well. It's a solid bullpen. I still think they could have used a better closer option, but still solid nonetheless. Better than the Blue Jays, I would say certainly. Cubs, yes. Diamondbacks, I lean yes. Rangers, even with Romano as the closer right now, I still think it's a better proven option there, better than the Rangers. Mets, I think they have a better back end as far as Diaz, but again, no Minter to start the year. I think they have better overall group anyway there, so I'd lean Phillies. Royals, I lean probably to the Phillies here, depth-wise. Yankees, I think I still lean Phillies. Orioles, this is where it could probably come off the rails here. I don't think they're better than the Twins bullpen. Well, or do I? Let's go the other direction. Better than the Dodgers? No. Better than the Guardians? No. Better than the Astros? Close, but no. Better than the Braves? I might have to rethink where I put the Braves here. I'm wondering if I got them just a hair high. I'll have to revisit that one here in a minute. Better than the Twins? I don't think so. Better than the Orioles with Bautista coming back from injury and now Kittredge out? I think they're probably a little bit better. So I'm going to put them after the Twins. I was lucky and grew up in New York City when I was 30 in 2003. Watched every game between the Yanks and Sox in the 90s and 2000s, but that means I also watched 2004. D-Rod, Mets got Minter too. That should help. Yes, but I can't count them for the purposes of this ranking if he's not going to start the season with them. Just trying to keep things as objective as possible. Rafe, not baseball rated, but talks of Sam Darnold to the Seahawks after Geno trade was very interesting in my opinion. Depends on DK trade. I think that's a legitimate spot for him. I think it's a sneaky spot for Aaron Rodgers as well, even though I don't think he has anything left. Who's the closer for the D-backs right now? It's either A.J. Puck or Martinez. Could be either one. I'm not sure if they've settled on one. I can't remember off the top of my head. Look, the Astros have the best bullpen. No, they don't. That's pretty solid. They have a solid bullpen there, Willard. That's why we're trying to remove the hyperbole from this conversation. Hyperbole meaning a whole bunch of exaggeration, because the Dodgers have a legitimate, what, three guys that could be a better closer than what the Astros have right now in Josh Hader. Nothing against Josh Hader, it's just that bullpen is really freaking good. Astros, meanwhile, their second best bullpen arm is Albert Abreu. None of the Dodgers' other three pitchers are worse than Albert Abreu, and they have more depth as well already on the active roster. Not even what's coming back in Evan Phillips and a couple other bullpen guys as well. The Dodgers significantly have a better bullpen. Guardians, I think, have a better higher end back end there with Clase over Hader, Cade Smith over Abreu. That's why the Guardians are above them. But the Astros are still right now in the top three. Let's see here. Willard, the Dodgers have the best. Yes, they do, Holly. Look, you think Tyler Scott is better than Hader? You're crazy. Not crazy, and it's true. And they also have Yates. They also have Trinan and a couple other guys as well. And I do like Whitley as a middle relief, long relief option for them. But the Dodgers have that in spades as well. They're going to probably go with Dustin May, and that's better than anything the Astros are going to have in a long relief setup type, or in a long relief, middle relief role there. Best bullpen setup man, Abreu is the best in baseball. All right, Willard, you're kind of using the hyperbole a little bit there. Best in baseball, Hader. Best in baseball, Abreu. I don't think so. Very good, yes. Probably in that top 5, top 10 of their category, sure. I could hear arguments about those. But instead of saying, oh, top 5, top 10, they're a top 5 bullpen in the game. That's why we do the rankings, to actually see where they legitimately do rank entering the 2025 season. We're not counting guys in the minor leagues. We're not counting guys on the injured list. We're just counting the guys that are going to be there on opening day, how that bullpen stacks up compared to the rest of the league. And the Dodgers are the best, and it's honestly not close so far. But let's keep this thing rolling here. The Pirates. Bednar has his ups and downs last year. Dennis Santana, as a setup guy, has been pretty good in his career, but has been prone to blowing up a few different times during the season. Meza and Lawrence, some good veteran additions for this bullpen. Holderman, Ledzinski, Ferguson, and Wentz. Wentz is a decent long relief option, but nobody really elite in this bullpen anymore. Bednar hopefully gets back to that level. No great strikeout artists in this group, though. It's a decent bullpen. It ain't great, and Bednar's no longer a great reliever or a great closer, so it's a solid group. But I don't think they're at the level of the Rangers, the Diamondbacks. I think the Cubs are a little bit better. I think the Blue Jays are a little better. Reds get really close. Mariners, Brewers, Angels, I think they're right in this group here. And I think I like all of those bullpens a little better. Red Sox, A's, I think they're a little better than the A's. I think they're slightly better than the Red Sox. And I'll give them a slight nod over the Angels because they have more depth in the middle relief, long relief category, but I do like the back end a little bit better with Jansen and Ben Joyce as their setup guys. So I'll go ahead and put them above the Angels for now. Again, let's go ahead and revisit my Braves ranking because I want to make sure that I'm not going crazy here. Iglesias, Johnson, Bummer, Lee, Neris, Hernandez, Perdomo, and Farmer. None of the names are really household names, but they all are pretty solid in general. The strikeout stuff is for real. I think I have them too high, though. I think I have them just a little high. Well, the strikeout stuff is there. Not all of them are going to be at that level this season. I'm taking the Braves down a little bit here. I just think I'm a little too high. Not by much, but I would say they're still better than the Rangers. I still lean better than the Mets. I still lean better than the Royals. I still lean pretty close to the Yankees, I think. Pretty close to the Orioles. I think they have more options than either of those teams. I think the Phillies might be a little bit better of a bullpen. I think the Twins are a little bit better of a bullpen. I think right in this mix is where they're going to fall. Better than the Royals. I think they have more arms to turn to and solve more problems with their bullpen. So I think I'm going to put them smack dab in between the Orioles and Orioles and Yankees. There we go. Let's see, just reading your comments there, Willard. Well, I'll put it this way, just to kind of summarize your comments there, Willard. I get it. They're spending a lot of money out there in Los Angeles. Yes, there's some other teams that have some really great bullpens out there. And yes, the Astros are still a good team. But they're still a decent bullpen. I'd say they're better than decent. I have them currently in my top five. They're still a good bullpen. Is Hader the best reliever in the game anymore? No. We saw that last year when he struggled early in the season. Yes, he course corrected and was better in the second half. But they no longer have Presley back there. Their bullpen is a lot thinner than it has been in recent years. Montero is up and down more than any other bullpen piece over the last 10 years. One year he's sub 4 ERA guy, sub 3 ERA guy at times, and then the next year he's plus 8 ERA guy, something along those lines. He's just very inconsistent. Now, Montero is not your full bullpen. I get it. You still have Hader, you still have Abreu, but you don't have the fallback safety net that you did in Ryan Presley anymore. And you don't have necessarily the depth in that bullpen in Stanek and Maton and Neris and years that you've had in years past as well. The depth isn't quite there as much as it used to be, and that's really where I think they're lacking in that middle relief role. Do they have a really good setup guy? Absolutely. Do they have a good closer? Yes. Do they have the best closer in the game? No, that's Emmanuel Clase. Do they have the best setup guy in the game? No. I think they're in that top 5, top 10 range. But I think they're still a good, back end of the bullpen. They can still do the job. But the depth in that bullpen has gone away over the last couple of years, much like the rest of the team. The lineup has seen a lot of departures. The bullpen has seen departures. The rotation has seen some departures. Are they still a good team? Yes, they're still a good team, Willard. Nobody's saying they're bad. But let's be realistic here. Are they as good as they were 5 years ago? No. 4 years ago? No. 3 years ago? No. 2 years ago? No. Last year? No. They're continually kind of going down the slow, winding trail down as talent continually leaves and departs and goes elsewhere. It's just the way free agency is meant to work. And unless you're bringing back that talent or replacing it with younger talent equally as good, you continually have some, they call it brain drain, at least from talent leaving an organization and going to another one in business. Same thing here. Talent has left the door here in Houston, and you haven't exactly replaced it with like kind. Same thing in the lineup, same thing in the rotation, same thing in the bullpen. Are they still a good lineup? Yes. Are they still a good rotation? Yes. Are they still a good bullpen? Yes. Are they as good as they used to be? No. That's the point of what we're saying there, Willard. D-Rod, you think the Phillies have a better bullpen than the Yankees? Closer alone, I think, pushes the Yankees over. I'm not as enamored with Devin Williams as everybody else is. We saw his issues in the postseason last year, and that's really what they wanted to solve this offseason. And instead, he'd go out there and get the one guy who also blew up in the postseason last year. But as far as Devin Williams, he's still a very good closer. I would give the nod to the Yankees over the Phillies with the closer position. But outside of that, the Yankees have a bunch of solid middle relief guys. But I think the Phillies have elite setup talent, and they have some long relief options that they can turn to that ultimately I think equal out what the advantage is for the Yankees with Devin Williams. Can the Yankees get the ball to the ninth inning is the bigger question for me, and that's where I have some questions there. All right, let's see here. Rafe, Dodgers could still have done nothing, and the Astros still wouldn't be the best. I still think the Dodgers needed to add. I wouldn't say that's quite true. I still think they're one of the best bullpens in the game. I think if they didn't add Yates and they didn't bring back Phillips and they didn't bring Trinan back, I think this bullpen would still have been worse than the Guardians. I think they would have been worse than the Astros. I think they would have been worse than the Twins. I think they would have been worse than the Phillies. But they didn't. They went out there and spent, and they added that bullpen, and that's why they've really solidified one of the weakest areas on their roster and made it one of the best strengths in baseball we've seen in the last 10, 15 years. We used to see the great bullpens of like the 2015, 2016 range where you had Zach Britton, Aroldis Chapman, Andrew Miller, and I can't remember, was it Betances out of the Yankees bullpen, where they had four guys who could legitimately be anybody else's closer. The mega elite, back into the bullpen, littered with closers, that were built up that way. Red Sox had that for a period of time. Cubs had that for a period of time. Phillies, I can't remember who else they had back there, but I think they were a part of that group as well that tried to build out those mega bullpens. And I think we're seeing a little bit of a return to that here with the Los Angeles Dodgers this season. Willard, question, now that the Dodgers are spending and using a deferred contract to gain advantage, so yeah, I agree, but when the league goes to the strike and then tell how great they are spending money, so in reality, they are great when they cause the league's CBA strike. I wouldn't say they would cause it. I'd say they're one of many reasons that the league will likely have a lockout strike in 2027. There's like 12, 15 major issues, not just about deferred money, not just about the international draft, not just about the actual draft itself, not about the revenue sharing, not about a salary cap or a salary floor. There's tons of issues. How much service time it takes to reach free agency, how much you get paid in the minor leagues, retirement pay, medical pay, benefits to families and retirees from the league as well. There's a lot that goes into the CBA negotiations, not the least of which is that deferred money, but it's not the only issue on the table as well. Let's see here. I wasn't saying if the Dodgers did nothing, it would still have been the best. I just meant that if the Dodgers did nothing, the Astros still wouldn't be the best. Gotcha. I still would say that the Guardians would have been the best, even above the Astros, if the Dodgers weren't even there. I'll agree with you there. Steven, good evening. Want to see how Cole injury changes your starting rotation ranking? Yes, it will certainly change it. It will definitely make some changes to that rotation. Same thing with the Seattle Mariners. In case you guys missed the opening of our video, we sounded the alarms for the starting rotations for the Seattle Mariners, for the Baltimore Orioles, and most significantly, the New York Yankees. Garrett Cole is going in for tests on his elbow. When you see any type of injury to a starting pitcher and dealing with an elbow, it could be anything from maybe he misses a start or two as they rest him and he'll be fine, or it could be season ending. It's a very scary thing right now for the Yankees. It could really change the shape of that division. It could change the entire shape of their team going into the season. Now, for the Seattle Mariners, for George Kirby, he has a shoulder injury. We'll see how much time he misses, but entering the season, that rotation is the only strong point on this roster. Bullpen's a solid one, but that lineup leaves a lot to be desired, and that rotation is really going to have to carry that team across the finish line. And if George Kirby is out, say, 3-4 starts, maybe they can mitigate it and still land a wild card spot if they add a bat. But if they don't, or if he misses more than that, then they could really be on the outside looking in and ultimately be a seller at the deadline. Big injuries are finally coming in spring training. I thought we were getting pretty lucky with all the short-term injuries we were seeing. Oblique strain here, oblique strain there. All that seemed just fine. Sure, you want these guys to be healthy. You don't want injury on anybody. You don't want to downplay any injury. But we can all agree that an oblique strain is certainly less impactful to a player than, say, a need for a Tommy John surgery. So, hoping that we don't see any significant injuries from these guys, but I'm expecting some bad news from a couple of these guys that we see over the next couple of days. And I was hoping we'd get through spring training without a truly significant injury, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, fingers crossed that the Yankees aren't going to be without Stan and Cole to be in the year, but it very well could. We will re-rank, Steven, to answer your question there. We will re-rank the starting rotation the day before opening day. We'll go through all of these rankings and kind of adjust where we see them. I'm going to save this page as kind of see the before opening day, kind of our spring training ranks. Then I'll do our opening day ranks. Then I'll do kind of like an all-star break, trade deadline one. And then after the season, we'll see how kind of things compared or throughout the year. Teams that we thought were really good in spring training, did it stack up to how it really performed on opening day? How did they stack up to the team around the trade deadline? How did that stack up to the team after the season? We'll kind of compare all of those as we go through the year. So, like I said, we're going to be live with you guys every single evening for this foreseeable future. But I really appreciate you guys joining us this evening. Let's try to wrap up our rankings here. Let's see where we left off here. We did the Phillies. We did Pittsburgh. I think we did Pittsburgh. Yes, we did Pittsburgh. Okay. Let's do San Diego. Only 4 teams left. Where do the Padres end up? Cease, King, Darvish, Pivetta, and Hart in their rotation. Bullpen, Suarez, Adam. Love both of those guys, but they're still on the roster for now. We're still going to count them for the rankings for the Padres right now because they haven't been traded yet. But you have Estrada, Morejon, Matsui, Jacob, Peralta, and Mauricio. Marinaccio. Ron Marinaccio. I think he was with the Yankees, if I remember correctly, last year. Pretty much 3-4 guys above a .5 WAR. 3 elite strikeout artists. And I do love the back end with Suarez and Adam. Those are pretty good options. They're not elite, but Adam, I think, is one of the better relief options in that setup role with really good closing abilities. Let's kind of start in the middle here. Brewers, Mariners, I think they're better than both of those. Reds and Blue Jays, better than the Reds. Blue Jays gets close. Cubs, I'd say they're still better. Diamondbacks gets real close. Rangers, that's close. Mainly because they have the back end solved with the closer options, but they don't necessarily have the depth that the Rangers do. Do I think they're better than the Mets? Probably not. So I think it's going to be either Padres-Rangers or Rangers-Padres. And I think if I had to choose one, bunch of sub-4 ERAs. Nobody a sub-3, though. That's kind of surprising. One, two, 3 guys with with less than 2 years of experience. A couple of good long relief options. Decent middle relief option, 1 or 2. But again, that back end's a little bit better than the Rangers. I think I'm going to put them after the Mets and above the Rangers. This might put the Rangers outside of the top 10 or close to it by the time we finish here. Let's see here. Rafe, where would the Rangers rank if we had Helsley? I think they'd rank a lot higher than where they would be. It's tough basing it off of woulda, coulda, shouldas, but if the Rangers did have a solid option in that 9th inning, probably above the Royals for sure. Yankees, it'd be close, but I'd probably lean the Rangers. Even though I'd like Williams a little better, I think the competition would be close enough that the depth for the Rangers would really pay off. Braves, I think they'd be really close. I'd probably put them in somewhere in that Rangers, Orioles, Braves mix if they had Ryan Helsley. All right, let's keep it going here. The Giants. Walker, Rogers, Doval, Miller, Sean Hele, not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Lou Trevino, Randy Rodriguez, and Tristan Beck. One guy above a 1 WAR, one other guy above a .5 WAR in Doval. 3 strikeout artists. Not a bad bullpen, but not great by far. Let's kind of start down here by the Rays. They're definitely better than the Rays to me. Better than the Marlins, yes. Better than the A's. Miller and Leclerc, I would probably say that the Giants are slightly better in the middle relief area. Walker as a closer, they're expecting a 3 ERA, almost 11 strikeouts, and solid control. And Tyler Rogers still doing a nice job there as far as the walks, but he doesn't strike out anybody. It should be a solid bullpen. I don't think it's better than the Red Sox. I think the A's have better back-end talent. Can they get it to that back-end talent, though, is the question. I think I'm going to put them just beneath the Athletics because of Mason Miller. So Giants are going to be in the bottom 10 for sure. All right, let's keep this thing going here. Only 2 left. Cardinals. Now, they haven't traded Helsley yet, so I still have to count him in this bullpen. See, 2 guys above a .5 WAR, 1 strikeout artist in Helsley, some good veterans mixed in here. Liberatore Fernandez, Romero, Leahy, King, O'Brien, and Graceffo. It's a solid group. Would I say they're better than the Giants? I would lean yes. Better than the A's? Close, but I think the depth overall plays. Helsley's drop-off from Mason Miller is not quite as significant. Better than the Red Sox. I think they've got some health issues and to kind of prove it type of guys back there. But the Cardinals should still be a little bit better in the bullpen, at least entering the season. Angels, Ben Joyce, Kenley Jansen. I like the back end a little better for the Angels, but I like the depth overall and the versatility of the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are right in this Pirates, Angels, Red Sox mix. Let's start with the Pirates. Are they better than the Pirates? Bednar's back there. I think Bednar's slightly less valuable than Helsley, but I think they have a much better long relief and middle relief there, so I'd say they're beneath the Pirates. The Angels, they don't have much for middle and long relief there, primarily led by that back end. And I think the Cardinals have a little bit more utility out of those pieces. But I do like Ben Joyce quite a bit as a future closer. But entering the season, I'm going to go ahead and say the Cardinals bullpen is just a hair better. But I could hear arguments both ways. All right, 1 team left, I believe, and that is the Washington Nationals. Finnegan, Lopez, Law, Frere, Sims, Poche, Reifert, and Ogasawara. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but really good middle relief options here that they can turn to. Nobody that knocks my socks off as far as strikeouts, though. Finnegan had a really bad second half last year, was really good in the first half. Nobody with a really high WAR either. This bullpen is okay, I suppose. Long relief is definitely one of the better in the game. Even though he hasn't thrown a pitch in the majors yet, I think he's got the chops to be able to do it, and I think he'll be a spot starter most of the time, though. But again, this bullpen doesn't leave me much confidence. They're definitely worse than the A's to me. Is it worse? Are they worse than the Giants? I'd say it's close, but I'd lean... I think I lean Giants better. Are they better than the Rays? I'd say yes. Are they better than the Marlins? I would lean yes. So I think they're between the Giants and Marlins. So there's your list. Let me copy all this real quick. Copy. There we go. So Dodgers again finished at the top in all 3 categories. Mariners, like I said, have an injury. We're going to have to reevaluate that one as we get closer to opening day. Same thing with the Yankees on the injury front. But there's your rankings. Dodgers finish at the top in all three. White Sox finish at the bottom in all three. Rockies finish in the bottom three in all three categories. But you can really see where these teams kind of stack up with one another. Now, sure, some teams might be so much better offensively than how far they're awful in the rotation, to where they might, ultimately have a better record than they otherwise would. So, for instance, say your team is the third best lineup in the second worst rotation, the second worst bullpen. That rotation might not be as bad as it looks on paper because they might be closer to, say, the top 10 in that starting rotation rank, whereas the difference in their lineup could be as significant as the drop off from 2 to 3. Basically saying that the difference, how good they are in their lineup, might not equal how bad they are in the rotation. So it might skew how we ultimately see these teams finish in the regular season. Rangers ain't looking so hot. Well, I will say this. Rangers are really good in the lineup right now. I'd say the rotation have a lot of red flags that if things go right, that rotation bumps up quite a bit. I think in the bullpen, once they solve their closer issue, which they will, whether it be in-house or at the trade deadline, but entering the season, I'd say they're borderline top 10. Let's see where we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the Rangers kind of finish in that range right there. It's not a bad spot to be, but overall, I think that the team is expecting good performances out of that bullpen. But looking at it objectively, that bullpen still has a lot to prove, just like that rotation. Steven, just love Justin Turner killed Seattle in their not picking up a bat to support their pitching. Yes, I saw that. He absolutely lambasted them for not going out there and spending. He was really critical of the ownership there, allowing them to only spend $15 million in free agency and not giving them a chance to really win. But that was kind of one of the more surprising headlines I did see from some of the comments we've seen from players so far this spring. Devers being another one. There's been a few other nice sound bites we've seen out there, but I would have liked to have seen Seattle really invest in that team more. But I don't know their books. I don't know how much ownership really has to really work with, but we'll see. Did David Robertson sign yet? No. If not, where would he be a good fit? Honestly, right now, Baltimore, after Kittredge went down, Yankees still need an eighth-inning guy. Rangers could use him as a closer. There's a lot of teams that are still looking for bullpen even at this moment. But again, we're kind of paying attention right now to the biggest injury news of the spring so far. George Kirby for the Mariners, Garrett Cole for the Yankees. Hopefully we'll have updates on those, both of those guys for you tomorrow night. Be sure to join us tomorrow. We'll probably start a little bit earlier, around probably 7-ish. We'll kind of do an overall ranking tomorrow, kind of taking into account each one of these teams. Maybe we'll call it a power ranking, I guess is what they do. For most industries out there. We'll call it a power ranking, kind of taking into account where they rank with their lineup, their rotation, the bullpen, combine it all together and see how they come out overall. So tomorrow we will do the power rankings for Major League Baseball during spring training as we gear up for opening day 2025. Appreciate you guys joining us. Be sure to like the video. It really means a lot and helps us out so very much when you guys are able to do that. So if you wouldn't mind doing that before you guys head out. And again, join us tomorrow as we update you guys on the latest on the injuries to Garrett Cole and George Kirby. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. Stay safe out there, everybody.